Welcome back to Coffee and Conversation. So, for all you Audie fans, my bad boy is on my naughty list today. So for those of you who have followed the channel for a while, you probably know that my bad kitty goes on a walkabout every year. Usually it's the first 1 or 2 good days of spring. And over the years, his walkabouts have gotten a little longer and a little longer. And the last year walkabout was 37 anxiety-filled, grueling hours long. I had no idea where he was, what he was doing, and eventually he comes home like, oh well, no big deal, I was out. Isn't this lovely? So this year, spring days go by, they're nice. I'm putting flashers on his collar in case he decides that this is the day he's going to take off for the evening. Nothing. And then last night, and mind you, we are in the middle of June, so the warm spring days are well past. Last night, well, it was actually yesterday evening, he went out at 6, did not come back until 2 in the morning. And even then, he didn't want to come in. He hopped up on the porch railing, and of course, at this point, it's been something like 8 hours, so I'm getting nervous. So I was just hovering by the door. I opened the door, and he just looks at me like, I'm not coming in, turns around, and starts walking down the steps. So I grabbed a bag of cat treats and shook the bag at him, which lured him back in the house. So, all right, fine, I've got him back in. He's just gorging himself on cat treats. He's perfectly happy. But then this morning, 6 o'clock, he wants to go out again. And I figure, okay, he had his little walkabout, he can go out. I let him out. Not coming back. Now, usually when he goes out, he stays out for anywhere from maybe 20 minutes to 2 hours, and it depends on the weather and, just the general conditions of the day. Winter, 20 minutes max. In the summer, if it's like in the afternoon and it's warm and sunny and a lazy day, he might be out for 2 hours. But usually 6 o'clock in the morning, no, 20 minutes he comes home. Well, I had to go out. 9 o'clock in the morning, he's still not home. And I'm thinking, well, I got to go out. I got to go grocery shopping. I got to get some errands to run. So I come back, and I guess it was shortly before noon. There he is, perched on the porch railing. He sees me coming back, and suddenly he starts screaming because he was left outside. It wasn't as if he wanted to come back in. He can sit outside all afternoon as long as he thinks I'm inside. If he thinks I'm not at home, all hell breaks loose. So when he sees me coming in, it's like he had been outside on the porch railing and I had not been home. So this sort of delayed reaction, my mother has left me, kicks in, and he screamed nonstop until I finally got him in the house, and then he shut up. So yeah, my baby is on my naughty list today. Hopefully he will have burnt this walkabout out of his system now. Usually he does that. It's like 1 day a year and he just doesn't do it again. I think he wants the security of knowing that he can go do his own thing and I'll still open the door for him. But we'll have to see. I am not amused. So, like I say, he's on my naughty list. But we'll see. Keep my fingers crossed that we don't have to go through this again, because it is a harrowing experience. For him, it's just a little trip outdoors. But for me, it is high-level anxiety. Where is my cat? Is he okay? Why isn't he coming home? Again, we'll see. Right now he's sleeping it off because he had a busy evening. So when we come back from the intro, we are going to talk about the elephant in the room. Well, no, wait, I take that back. We are going to talk about the elephant that used to be in the room but isn't anymore. So, when we come back. So, lately, over the past several weeks, maybe even the last couple of months, I have been seeing a lot of comments in our comments section, people telling me, "Oh, Sue, you look great," which is wonderful. Thank you. And that tells me you have noticed that I have been losing weight. So, very pleased that my efforts have not gone unnoticed or unobserved. Although I do know, and frankly, my expectation was that you probably wouldn't notice, because when you see everyone all the time and things change, you don't notice. It's so gradual, you don't really see it happening. So my expectation had been that you probably wouldn't notice, but you have. And we should talk about this. So, before we actually get into how I lost the weight, which is something I want to share with you, because I imagine there are some of you who are interested in this, especially since you know I'm going to tell you how I lost the weight, and I don't have anything to sell you. So this is going to be nothing but, here you go, this is what I did, and I bet you can do it too. So let's just hook up with Sherman and Mr. Peabody and take a little trip in the Wayback Machine, because I want you to see how it started. This picture is from, it was my mid to late 20s. It was the 1980s, I'm guessing, around late 1980, 1981, somewhere in there. And this is what I looked like for most of my young adulthood, me as an adult in the 20th century. This is what I looked like in the early 1980s. It's very much what I looked like right up until the end of the 20th century. A little older, perhaps, but basically the same size person. And at that point, I never had weight issues. My idea of a weight problem was I would overindulge during the holidays and skip lunch a couple of days, for a week or two in January. And that would take care of the 5 or 10 pounds I had gained. I never considered myself like a diet person. I didn't diet. I didn't even know how. My idea of I have to lose weight was a tiny amount of weight that would go away if I just skipped lunch. No big deal. But when I went in to the 21st century, I think the biggest thing that happened was, aside from the normal slowing down when you're going into your 40s at this point, in 21st century, I was in my mid-40s when that came along. But also menopause came along. And that was when my weight gain started. And it was very, very gradual. And when I say very, very gradual, it was imperceptible. I was gaining weight at the rate of about maybe, 3-4 pounds a year. And 4 pounds a year is about 5 ounces a month. So, yeah, how do you even notice that? At the end of a year, you are 5 pounds heavier than you were the year before. It's just not that big a deal. However, you multiply that by 20 years, and you're talking 80 pounds. So, let's hop back into the Wayback Machine again and zoom forward to 2019. Now, 2019 is when I started this channel, and it was just about this time. It was the end of May 2019. So we're looking at 6 years ago, almost exactly. And this is where I was in 2019, which was 80 pounds heavier than I had been back in the 1980s and 1990s. So yeah, even though I had not noticed the weight gain as I was acquiring it, it's kind of like one day there it was. Ew. So yeah, and those of you who have been watching the channel, you know this. You see that intro. That intro has not changed for 6 years. So there I was, 80 pounds above what I weighed when I was a young adult, but considerably less than I weighed quite recently. So let's hop back into the Wayback Machine and scoot forward a little. And this was me a year ago, right about now. I've got the date on this. And please note, these videos are here. You saw them at the time when I first released them, and you can go back into my channel and pull them out and take a look at them again, because I am not manufacturing any of this. It happened right in front of your eyes, and sadly, my eyes too. So this is where I was in 2024. That extra 80 pounds, yeah, well, there was another extra 70 on top of that. And, oh, and here, let me show you another one, just so you can see I'm not cherry picking these videos. Let me pull out, this one is from 2023, again, just about 2 years ago. So yeah, this is what was going on. 2020 came along, and we all had issues in 2020. We've talked about this many times. We focused a lot of videos on that, trying to recover from the disaster that was the pandemic. And for me, weight gain. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. I developed a sort of fatalistic mindset, and I've spoken about that before. It's like, what difference does it make? We're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything. We're never going to go anywhere and do anything ever again. So I might as well eat. Yeah, not a good plan. Absolutely not a good plan. So you've just seen what I looked like 1 year ago, what I looked like 2 years ago, and here I am now. And I am telling you, and you got to trust me on this. This is the part where I need your trust. At this point, 70 pounds less than I weighed. This time last year, this time the year before. And I think you can see this. And of course, the reason I want to show you videos and not still photos is because videos won't lie the way still photos will. You take a still photo, you get the right angle, the right lighting, and you can actually convince someone that you are either heavier than you really are or perhaps thinner than you really are. But again, I put out 4 videos a week and have been doing this for years, so you've seen me. You've been able to follow along with this. And those of you who haven't been with the channel for that long, all these videos are in my archives. So yeah. And the reason this is important is because I want you to understand I'm not blowing smoke up your butts. This is reality. And I hope those of you who have followed along will see that. And the reason that it's important is because so many people that will talk to you about things like weight loss or whatever, they're either trying to sell you something or they are giving you a set of circumstances that you can't replicate in your own life. Why? Because they're 24 years old and you're not. And boy, the things you can do when you're 24 are not the things you can do when you are 40, 50, 60, or in my case, 70. And I want to show you that here I am. What you see is what you get. Because it occurred to me that this is probably something valuable that I can pass on to you, and I don't want you to have to worry about what my agenda is, because whenever we watch something like this, you look at a weight loss video, you know there's an agenda. You know they're trying to sell you on something, either some weird philosophy or some system of weight loss medication or drugs or Lord only knows what. No, you don't get that here. You've never gotten that here, and I'm not starting now. So, we're going to talk about how I did it. But we're going to talk about, see, here's the thing. We got to talk about how I got there in the first place. Because it's all well and good to say, well, this is how I escaped from the trap. But we need to talk about how I fell into the trap in the first place. And like I say, the initial weight gain was gradual. It was in the early 21st century. The weight loss was partly menopause, partly lower activity levels. I think the biggest part were some major lifestyle changes. I had been used to a lot of exercise, and I just wasn't getting it anymore. If I had that Wayback Machine and could do it all over again, that is the one change I probably would make. I would have made sure I continued to get the exercise I had become dependent on. But I can't do that. I don't have a time machine. I can't go back. I can't whisper into the ear of my younger self and say, whoa, take this seriously before it's too late. I have to be able to deal with what I've got now. And what I've got now, well, we're going to go back a year. What I had a year ago was a boatload of excess weight. You saw the videos. You know I'm not making this up. And for me, the period of reckoning was when I realized that I should start losing weight. It's not like it didn't occur to me. Of course it occurred to me, but I failed to take it seriously because there was that level of sort of low-grade 2020 pandemic fatalism going on. I wouldn't exactly characterize it as depression, but I would have to say it was something close to it. And the catalyst was when I talked to one of my doctors and said, I'd like to do something about my weight. And the doctor said, have you considered bariatric surgery? Holy guacamole. Nobody says bariatric surgery unless you are significantly obese. I did not see myself as a significantly obese person, but you know what? Other people clearly did, including doctors. So I actually went to a weight loss practice that deals with bariatric surgery. And meanwhile, of course, thank goodness, I did my own research on the process. And you know I love research, and I'm good at it. At the end of the day, I decided, no. In this case, the cure is worse than the disease. Bariatric surgery is so invasive, it is permanent, and here's the thing, a very significant percentage of the people who have bariatric surgery gain back most, if not all, of the weight they have lost. Why would I do something like that to myself? That is insane. And I have to tell you, I've got to wonder why the medical community is even doing this and why a doctor would be pushing this on me. The upside is I was able to hook up with a good dietitian through this bariatric surgery practice. Now, my previous experience with dietitians had always been very, very negative. The dietitians were usually 22-year-old girls. They were all female, 22-year-old girls straight out of college who weighed about 85 pounds, which, by the way, is just about where their IQ fell to. These were bimbos, sorry to say it, but we're talking about people who were just not, they were not the cream of the crop intellectually. They really had very limited resources available to offer to me as a patient. And yeah, it didn't work out very well. I would ask them questions because, again, I research, and they were unable to answer it. Why? Because they had bachelor's degrees in things like food science or nutrition or, dietetic technician, whatever. But the job they were doing was about 60% education, for which they had zero qualifications. And I know, because I got a boatload of qualifications in that field, and mental health counseling, that was about 40%. And although mental health counseling was not my major, I definitely took a lot of educational work in that field as well, and they were completely unqualified for that too. So I was dealing with people who were doing a job for which they were absolutely unqualified, and furthermore, none of them, not one, had ever been overweight in her entire short little lifetime. So they had no ability to connect with me and what was going on in my life. None. I would talk to dietitians who would say things like, do you eat when you're depressed? I shop when I'm depressed. And by the way, and I don't get into serious depression. So for me, when I say depressed, I'm not using that in the clinical sense. I'm using that in the sort of shorthand sense in which we say that. Just, I get into a blue mood, I shop. That's what I do. That's my feel-good mechanism. I eat out of boredom. So, yeah, 2020 was the perfect storm for someone like me. They had nothing to give me. I had nothing to gain from them. So my experience with dietitians was nothing but negative. Now, I'm sure they were all very lovely young women, but I just dismissed them out of hand and said, we got to find another path. This weight loss clinic had a good dietitian. Not only did she know what she was talking about, but she would research the things I would ask her about. If I would say, and one of the things I do watch in my diet is sodium. I do not have high blood pressure. I do not have sodium issues, but I did lose both my mother and my younger brother, let me stress that, younger brother, to hypertension issues. So, yeah, big deal for me. I stay on top of my sodium like you wouldn't believe. And she would go out and do research for me on foods that were high in sodium and maybe I should be careful of, foods that were low in sodium that maybe I should be incorporating into my diet. And bless her heart, I got really good, solid advice from this woman. And, oh, and by the way, I'm not going to make you go see her, although I probably should. She's not in your area, so unless you are in South Central Pennsylvania, if you are, get in touch. I'll give you her name. But I'm going to share with you what she shared with me, how I did this. And I do want to tell you, by the way, this is going to be a two-part because I can't do this all in half an hour, and I'm not going to turn this into a 3-hour video. So we're going to pick this up tomorrow. Today, I'm just giving you the backlog, how I got to where I needed to be in order to do something about this. So I will share with you what she shared with me, what I learned from this, and how I managed to do this. And here's the bonus tip. If you think for one instant I gave up ice cream, potato chips, soda, whatever. I did not. I will not deprive myself. This is the first world, thank you very much. And if I want potato chips, I know where to buy them, and I can afford a bag of potato chips. So, no, I was not eating like a rabbit. I was not depriving myself, because I know myself well enough to know that if I feel deprived, if I feel that I am doing something that is making me unhappy, that is causing me misery, I'm not going to do it. Not a chance. So I managed to drop 70 pounds in the last year. And by the way, I weighed myself earlier this week, and it has been 70 pounds since that video from 2024. 70 pounds with no exercise to speak of, because as you all know, I was not able to walk. I was walking with a cane because I was awaiting knee replacement surgery. So, no exercise to speak of. Certainly nothing like the 5 miles a day I had been walking before then. No deprivation. Again, key, because I won't do that to me. Basically, no pain. It was remarkably easy, and it had to do with using the right techniques and the right mindset. And, oh, I should also tell you, because I have mentioned in the past, that I am using Mounjaro for my diabetes. So I have to throw that in. I do not use it regularly because so many people are using Mounjaro for weight loss that diabetics are not able to get it. So I will go into the pharmacy and say, I need to get a refill on my Mounjaro prescription, and they will say, nuh-uh, we're out. So my Mounjaro use is sporadic. When I went in for knee replacement surgery, I was off Mounjaro for more than 2 months. The doctor before the surgery took me off Mounjaro, and then following the surgery, I was on a lot of medication that had a high risk of producing constipation. And the side effect of Mounjaro that made my life remarkably miserable was constipation. By the way, I found a little cure for that too, which I am going to share. So I had to cope with constipation with the Mounjaro and then constipation with other drugs, so I stayed off the Mounjaro for 2 months. In that 2-month period, I still kept with my 5 pounds a month, which is about what I'm dropping. Yeah, it's about 5 pounds a month I'm losing. And that's an approximate, by the way. The weight loss was not changed. On Mounjaro, 5 pounds a month dropping. Off Mounjaro, dropping 5 pounds a month still. So the Mounjaro is not a factor. And again, I've been on and off the drug so often simply because the supplies, at least in my area, are so unreliable that I have to go off it, or I have to change dosage or whatever all the time. So when I have it, I use it. It regulates my blood sugar. When I don't have it, oh well, I've got to cope without it. So I wanted to throw that out there because I don't want anybody to be thinking, yes, but you are on Mounjaro. Yeah, when I can get it, which is not all the time. And even when I'm not, the weight is still coming off. So there you go. It's something a little different. It's not a drug-dependent weight loss. And I've been clocking this for, well, you know how I love the numbers. I've been clocking this for the last year very carefully. And I can tell you with a great sense of confidence, this is not a drug-induced weight loss. This is not the results of Mounjaro. In fact, if anything, when I look at the effects of the Manjaro, in particular the constipation. I would be willing to bet if I just scarfed down some laxative, I could probably lose 20 pounds in 10 minutes just in the bathroom because of the amount of Lord only knows what I am holding in my body. Before we finish up for this video, because I'm going to pick it up tomorrow, let me just tell you what I did to deal with the constipation, because this happened purely by accident. My doctor didn't like me on laxatives, and she advised strongly against it. So I realized I was going to have to either get off Manjaro altogether, which might not be the best thing to do because, again, I'm diabetic. This is regulating my blood sugar. Or I was going to have to cope with the constipation or go over to laxatives, which my doctor is telling me is not good for me. And what I did was I happened on something. Pure accident. I was in the supermarket checkout line. And you know how they keep goodies at the cash register so that you will impulse buy gum or breath mints or, in my case, chocolate bars. And I saw a chocolate bar, and it was like 70% cocoa, dark chocolate. And I thought to myself, ooh, 70% dark chocolate. I bet that's tasty. And then the other little voice in the back of my head said, don't you dare buy that. Whenever you eat dark chocolate, you end up with terrible gastrointestinal problems and a lot of diarrhea. Bingo! Light flashed, and I realized that, yes, if I get a chocolate bar and simply sit down and eat it, I'm going to be miserable. It's like choosing between the devil and the deep blue sea. Difficulty with constipation or difficulty with diarrhea. However, if I get that dark chocolate bar and eat a square of it, tasty, I will be able to go to the bathroom like a normal human being. I will not be constipated, and I will not end up with diarrhea. It'll just take me a while to figure out exactly how much chocolate I ought to be eating to produce that optimal result. And by the way, it turns out for me, it's 2 squares of dark chocolate and spread throughout the day. So it'll be 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. And hey, dark chocolate, this is tasty stuff. And again, plugs into my, I'm not going to deprive myself. So that was my quick fix for the constipation that came along with the Manjaro. My doctor is not complaining about it. It is not some kind of artificial laxative. And it's chocolate. So yeah, how can you find a more pleasant form of medicine? So that's the one I'm leaving you with today. When we pick up on this tomorrow, I am going to explain to you exactly how I managed to change my diet painlessly. Remember, I'm not into pain. Painlessly, so that I could lose weight without depriving myself and without even exercise and without even the normal level of exercise that I think most of us should be getting. Because remember, walking with a cane, I wasn't even able to get normal exercise. So, we're going to pick up again tomorrow and move forward. And I hope you will all join me with this, even if you don't need to lose weight. Just learning how to regulate your diet might be helpful. Getting some information you might be able to share with someone else in your life might be helpful. And again, I'm not selling you anything, not even that chocolate. If it works for you, go for it. All right, We are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I think I'm going to show you a film of Audie when he was being a good boy, because, yeah, he wasn't a good boy yesterday. So let's cheer ourselves up with Audie being a good boy. All right, hope to see you again tomorrow. Meanwhile, have a terrific day.